Chapter 11 of our book Hercufleas. This is where we know that Hercufleas has hopped on Greta's collar and gone outside the shop to get a glimpse of these two superheroes. Chapter 11. Greta ran through dark, foggy streets heading for the shore. The air was thick and chill and dank. Tucked under her collar, Hercufleas shivered. Glimpses of Avalon emerged from the mist and vanished away just as quickly. Rows of sulphur yellow street lamps, posters in shop windows advertising heroes for hire. Statues of legendary knights, hair and shoulders crusty with gull poo and rime. Street sellers hawking merchandise, holding out to Greta replicas of famous swords, alchemals granting super strength, and Matryoshka dolls from Petrosia. The outside world astounded Hercufleas. He hadn't realised just how enormous Avalon would be. It was going to take him forever to hop back to happily ever afters and the house hat. He pushed the thought from his mind. Adventurers didn't worry about getting home. They kept going no matter what. Greta kept going too, clogs clacking on the cobbles until she reached the pebbly shore. She skidded to a stop, panting for breath, heart racing. Hercufleas' heart, the size of an apple pip, beat just as hard. This was where Stickler had told Greta to wait. This was where the heroes were supposed to be. "Prince Zin?" called Greta into the mist. "Ugor! Hello!" Hercufleas strained his ear for a reply, but there was only the lap of the waves on the shore and the faraway thud of Greta's enormous heart. Wait. Now he heard something else. The scrunch of shingle. Footsteps coming closer. Slowly, Hercufleas edged from Greta's collar to her shoulder. He couldn't come all this way and get in what would probably be an enormous amount of trouble without seeing the heroes. And here he is. You see him there. He's standing on Greta's shoulder. Two enormous silhouettes stood up ahead, the mist curling its white fingers around them. Prince Zin and Ugor the Barbarian, real heroes. Hercufleas clapped his hands over his mouth to stop himself screaming with excitement. "You are Greta," said Prince Zin, moving forward. He was slender as a willow cane, with skin flawless as porcelain and eyes the colour of jade. Here are these two superheroes. So Zin is this really slim one. And Ugor the Barbarian is the really, really large one. "I am," Greta waved her receipt. "I've hired you for a deadly quest." Prince Zin's laugh was sensuous and dreamy, like a love song. "Have you now?" He reached down and stroked the feathers of the enormous creature he sat astride. It was the size of a horse. It had stunted wings, the legs of an ostrich, and the neck and plumage of a swan. "Did you hear that, Artifacts? Doesn't sound very appealing, does it?" Artifacts cocked his eagle head and clucked softly, regarding Greta with his purple eyes. "Hundreds of lives are at stake," Greta persisted, stepping closer. "We must go at once." "Ugor and Onk not care about hundreds of lives, just our own," the barbarian said, emerging from the mist. He was twice as tall as the prince, and 12 times as broad, and 1,000 times as hairy. Hercufleas wrinkled his nose. Ugor smelled of gunpowder and swill. He sat atop a huge armoured pig that could fire bullets from its snout. That's quite a special pig, isn't it? "But you have to help," said Greta, confusion and panic in her voice. "You cost all the gold I had." She waved the receipt at them again. "You're the greatest heroes in Avalon." "Is that what Stickler told you?" Prince Zin rolled his eyes. "That man is so devious, he almost puts me to shame." Ugor the Barbarian laughed It sounded like dynamite rumbling up a mine shaft. Hercufleas saw his teeth were filed down to sharp points, and suddenly he was afraid. Greta scowled. "Why are you laughing?" Prince Zin's smile slid from his face. His laugh was different now, sharp and hard. "Do we look like heroes to you?" Hercufleas watched them uneasily, his insides wriggling and twisting as if he'd drunk worm blood. What did Prince Zin mean? Why had he drawn his sword? What was Ugor doing, stuffing bullets down Onk-Onk's snout? Did they mean? Surely they couldn't be. Hercufleas felt Greta tremble. He watched the hairs on the back of her neck prickle and rise. He began to whisper the plea of the flea under his breath. Greta backed away. "You're scaring me." "Of course we're scaring you," Prince Zin sighed theatrically. "Isn't that what villains are supposed to do?" Greta went pale as the mist. "Villains? But I need a happily ever after." "Did you think only good people want happily ever afters?" said Prince Zin. "There are plenty of ambitious princes who want their fathers to leave the throne. Wicked alchemists needing children to practice their potions upon. People like that don't need a hero to do good. They need a villain to do evil. That's why Mr. Stickler keeps us. We make him a fortune." He frowned. "But you know all this, surely, unless Stickler gave us to you by mistake." "No, he picked you out for me specially after I threatened to—" Greta began and then stopped. Suddenly it all fell into place. Prince Zin and Ugor weren't going to help Greta take care of Yuck. They were going to help Mr. Stickler take care of Greta. "Ah," said Prince Zin softly. "Now I understand. You threatened Mr. Stickler. He doesn't like that. He's very proud of his reputation. He'll do dreadful things to protect it. Or rather, he'll get us to do dreadful things for him." "Oh, run, Greta," Hercufleas urged, his voice growing from a whisper to a shout. "Run, run, run! You have to run!" End of chapter 12. Is Greta going to escape?